Do it, Pit.
I got Chris. Leave me alone.
That's it. That's the one.
There you go.
Hello and welcome to Quackcast number 298. I am Ozone Ocean and with me is Tanserine. Hello, Tans.
Hello.
And Pitface. Greetings, oh Pit.
Yo.
Pitsy and Tansy. And Ozzy, the gang together without Baines because Baines had a terrible accident on the toilet. All his guts went out. He doesn't know how to hold them in. So poor old Baines. Rest in peace. And that's a good segue because we're going to be talking about when death comes. Hopefully not in such a humiliating and embarrassing way as Baines' unlikely demise. But
He had the Elvis death, huh?
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's still there to this day.
It's a very kingly death then, so nothing humiliating about that.
He died on the throne.
Exactly.
So, when death comes, that's a subject. Tance did a great news post on it last week. Or last Saturday, not this Saturday, but the Saturday before. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. But before we get into that, I'll do the featured comic, which this week was brought to us by Drunkduck, and she gave us Grunk. Grunk is a magnificent-looking black and white comic. It's just incredible, really cool. So take it away, Kwai, with Grunk.
Hello, this is Drunkduck, and the feature I've selected for this week is Drunk by MG78, and it is rated E for everyone. Biological mutation experiment gone wrong? The Grunk is an olive green, bad-mouthed swamp monster who has a general disdain for Mondays and pretty much everything else. He lives close to the happiest of forests with inhabitants that appreciate everything from life, love, and laughter. After escaping from his experiment tube, the Grunk runs into another sentient creature that calls itself a free spirit. Grunk better be careful before he is ejected from his new acquaintance too. The art begins in full color, but a large majority of the comic is in black and white. Stylistically, the character designs for the Grunk are nicely done and original. There's a lot of shading that uses gradients. If you dislike Mondays, and all things, you might have fun reading Grunk, rated E. Just be careful, kids. There is a strong usage of language in this comic.
And that was Grunk. And now for the featured music, which we do have now. Gun Wallace has recovered sufficiently from the earthquake, because New Zealand was basically shaken a lot. His house was sort of messed up. But he's recovered himself, and he's given us some great music, even so. And so his music this week was the theme to a comic called Ectopery. And Ectopery is a comic by the fellow Hans Rickett, maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, this is the guy who gave us Cochlea and Eustacia and Delia, which are great comics. So enjoy the theme to Ectopery, and I've described it as being what was my big description that I wrote? Okay. Darkly threatening and vaguely classical, a creeping, scary exploration of dark places. So take it away, Gun Wallace, with Ectopery.
Thank you.
And that was Gum Wallace's theme to Ectopery. Thank you for that, Gum Wallace. So, death becomes her, or when death comes, regarding death. So, Pitt and Tance, you're both experts on this subject, or at least you are, Pitt.
I am.
You are?
I am. I mean, I am.
You are. You've dug up graves and things, so you've handled the
Well, you're not.
the remnants of bodies. You dug into the ancient history, all aspects. It's incredible.
Tanya wrote the news post.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
you are the one into mortuary archaeology and all that stuff. Please. You do the
No, we've got to do it the right way. So, Tance, what made you decide to come up with this this excellent subject? When death comes.
when in doubt, kill something.
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh.
Actually, like I was saying, the idea of death and how death is handled in stories has come up a little, rather frequently, at least in my Facebook feed and everything, like about the characters and whether they are dead or are going to stay dead, or those that are going to come back, and so on and so forth, especially in mainstream comics. So that was one thing. And the other was that I'm actually playing with the idea of a couple of characters that probably are going to not have a very long lifespan in my. So I was thinking of whether I have it in me to go ahead, or maybe thematically I can afford to save them, or that sort of thing. And that's how I was thinking, okay, maybe I should write about that, because I had only death in the brain at the time. So
Okay, yeah, because the thing is, death can be like the ultimate end of a character, or characters can always come back like they do in superhero comics. None of them ever die because they go into alternate universes and whatever, or just people revive them, and there's no such thing as death. So, do you think death should be final in a comic?
Me, I think it depends on the style and genre of the comic more than anything else. It depends on how you handle your subject matter and how you set up your audience. Like, if your audience expects death to be like in real life, you better keep it as in real life, like final. Or if you bridge that, you better have set it up in an extremely powerful way that your audience is going to accept, that it is not a cop-out in a sense. But if it's like some other kind of story, maybe a supernatural story or a comedic story, or some story where death by definition is not something final or doesn't have to be final, then you don't, I guess. It depends on the limits that you set.
Yeah, well, on the kind of story, but say in a lot of famous superhero comics, like Superman, and one of the most famous, Superman's died I don't know how many times, and he comes back all the time, just constantly. And it sort of sets fans up, and fans think, oh my God, they're killing him, and it's a big tragedy, and it's a huge controversy. And it is sort of looked at as being final. It's not some kind of, they're not expecting him to come back. And then he does, a couple of issues later or something like that. So I think, from my point of view, I think that kind of cheapens the whole thing. It'd be better that they don't bother killing him at all, because death is meaningless. It's just you're hurting fans, really. You're sort of you're giving them that emotional kind of blow because people really care about these characters, and there's no meaning to it because it's just taken away. So it's a very cheap kind of marketing tactic, really, without doing anything.
Well,
for the
when you have a series that has the main character's name and title, it's kind of hard to kill him and keep the series going. So, I mean, you should have. I mean, I do think that if you kill the titular, if that's the correct pronunciation, character, you should actually end. Yeah. Okay. you should actually finish the series, like stop it there, and have a good reason why you would kill that character. That was actually part of why. I mean, I had some alternative titles when I made them when I was designing Without Moonlight that involved some of the character names, but then I said, you know what? Let's not do that because I don't actually know if that will be relevant down the line that I want to do it. So, yeah.
Okay. How about you, Pip? What's your stance on death in comics?
Basically, I mean, if it drives the plot somehow, or if it just makes sense to you to do it, I mean, go ahead and do it. It could be hard for a creative, of course, to, especially with characters that they grow close to and attached to kill anyone off. But, just kind of like any other device, if you're just kind of ham-fisting it in there to...
That sounds rude.
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, right. I don't know. I don't have any certain rules about it. I mean, this whole conversation, I wasn't really expecting it. So I'm sorry if I don't have much input. So,
but you are an expert on death, as we've said,
I'm not though.
You've seen the skulls of 2,000-year-old people. So in a real world perspective, you've talked to people involved in plastination of dead bodies, at least insistence
I haven't
of
yet,
assistance.
Actually.
Well, you talked to his assistant anyway. I'm pretty sure. So,
no, it hasn't.
Almost. In your fantasies, you've talked to these people. So you do have some kind of perspective on real world death. How do you think that fits into your narrative death or in comics? How do you think these two things tie together? All that stuff around real world death. Like the cultural aspects of it, historical aspects. How people relate to death and mourning and all this kind of thing.
Well, that's a big question. I mean, I guess the way they show death could reflect how death is handled in their society, because all societies handle death in different ways. But,
okay. I
mean, we knew that, though. That's no big revelation.
Does that really influence the way you portray it? Say you've got like some great kind of musings on death in what's that damn comic? The Epic of
Blitzov. The Epic of Blitzov.
So Beauty, this character, this very beautiful woman, has died. And Blitzov's suddenly getting all maudlin about it. And he's going, oh, God, any of us could die. It could happen to any of us. And that's a very powerful moment in the comic. That's huge. And we know she's not coming back.
So...
Go on.
Well, you don't think she is. Maybe now she will. I don't know. Well, yeah, that's true. So in Blitzov, death is kind of becoming not the main theme, but it's kind of underlying. And Blitzov's, I call them insights into death. They kind of are. His across about death is just kind of getting into it now, but it's a reflection of that I've felt in the past year or two, just coming to my own realizations and stuff. So, I mean, not even necessarily realizations, but it's like with more answers, always these more questions. You know what I mean? So,
So it's musings on mortality and how you relate to mortality, expressed through the comic.
Yeah, being immortal, I guess I kind of do. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just I guess I'm finding it hard right now to kind of put it all in a nice, concise package. You know what I mean? Like I would need to think of how to talk on this for a little bit, but yeah. So Blitzoff is getting more concerned with it. I mean, this is the first time in his life he's actually starting to kind of realize he is mortal, right? And it's going to affect maybe the way he handled some things before, you know, like he might not be so eager to climb that damn mountain now that he keeps on falling off of, or just things like that. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of a journey for the both of us, I think.
Yeah,
but I don't want it to be like so wrapped up in it that it just kind of like, I don't want to just kind of force all of this stuff in there that tries to be profound either. I want it to still be a fun kind of off the cuff comic. So this might be something that we just kind of know about him in the background. And then, you know, if we see him make some certain decisions, we might be able to think back to, well, he's, you know, kind of dealing with this right now. So maybe that's why he does what he does, or, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, it is off the cuff. I'll go on, Chance.
I think it's pretty fun already. I mean, the way that you are handling it, it's not morose or, you know, heavy in the sense of depressively heavy. And a lot of things, I think, a lot of people often have the realization of mortality as motivation for things in life. Like, for example, the ancient Greeks dealt, in my opinion, this is my estimation, okay, they dealt with the idea of mortality by making sure that their reputation lived on through the ages. So they were immortal in the sense that people would still remember them forever, or their actions would affect the living forever, and sort of. Oh. So that basically is the motivation for life, although it is powered by the idea that you know that you have a limited time on Earth, in a sense.
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you look at what is accepted to be what their ideas were about the afterlife. If you go by the things that, you know, Homer and such wrote, that it's bleak, you know. There's, I mean, aside from fields, it's like, which it doesn't function like heaven does, right? If you're good, you don't just get into the Elysian fields. It's only for like, you know, like guys like married to Helen and stuff like that. Like, you know, there's very, very selective. So most people, I remember even reading, now once again, this is Homer, so it's not necessarily what all Greeks thought, but the shade of Heracles, I remember like part of him, it's weird, it's almost like part of it was in Elysian, but there was still a shade of him in the underworld. And the underworld is just, it's bleak, it's not hell, but it's just, you know, nobody has their memory. And that's interesting. I always found that really interesting about the Homeric epics. You know, nobody has their memory, which means, i.e., nobody has their identity, their self. You know, you don't know yourself, therefore you don't have your identity anymore. So, I mean, that kind of death, no wonder why the Greeks wanted to, if that was the prevalent thought about the afterlife, no wonder the Greeks wanted to preserve their you know, reputation and whatnot. 'Cause that's all that you had in terms of immortality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent point. Yeah, there's that time in the Iliad where all the shades are sort of brought back to life, and they're sort of, well, they do sort of remember stuff, but in a very, they're very grumpy.
You mean in the Odyssey?
Yeah, the Odyssey, sorry. They're all very sad and grumpy. And they've all got their old grudges. And that's all I can think of, and they don't want to do anything. They're a sad, sorry bunch.
That's one of my favorite parts in that book, because you guys know how much I love Achilles as a character. And, he's only in the Odyssey for that part, maybe like a page and a half or so. But like, once again, he astounds because, he's talking to Odysseus in the underworld. And, obviously for those, I shouldn't say obviously. I mean the opposite of obviously, because a lot of people haven't read this yet. But you should. It's good. But Achilles is dead. So Odysseus is in the underworld. And like Oz was saying, he's talking to all these shades, the dead people, And he's talking to Achilles. And Achilles says some famous line like, it's better to be a laborer on earth than king of all the dead, because the dead are nothing. They don't remember anything, but then he kind of has a turnaround in mood when Odysseus tells him that his son is still alive and that he's doing great. And so it kind of puts a perk in his step, because his son is his living legacy and his legacy is doing well. So he just kind of says like, all right. And he just walks off. I love it, man.
Yeah, walks off into the darkness.
Yeah.
Which is all there is down there.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with comics, but...
Well, there's lots of comics about that, so... It sort of does tangentially.
It does have to do with the nuances of death and how people... And I mean, Achilles isn't the living, but considering the ideas and what was entertained and is entertained around death, how death itself changes the characters around the episode. I mean, a character dies.
Isn't it?
The character that dies, and actually I have to say that I have thought about that in my life as well. Like when you are dead, you are done. Yeah. It's like you have completed your chapter and you're good. The problem is with those that have stayed behind, because they are the ones that have to handle this particular thing.
Survivors and stuff.
Yes, because the dead guy either has traveled to something else or is completed, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So they are done with this dimension anyway.
There's nothing you can do about it anyway. So it's just like not a problem.
But the others, they have to adjust their realities to living without that person, and that also happens a bit to the author. When you actually kill a character, it's not that easy when especially when you are used to that character interacting and affecting a plot in a certain way, and that character isn't there, then it's a bit of an adjustment. At least for me, it is. So you do feel a little bit the loss, in a sense, even for the bad characters. Yeah. Like when Raban got killed, I mean, I still haven't done any scenes with Arthur, because he emotes best when he has Raban with him, and now Raban is not there. So I have to think of a way to show what he's feeling without having him be, like one of those Easter Island statues. So, yeah.
Stoic, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about for I think you mentioned it here. There's there can be say if you got a war situation where I've done it in Pinky TA, where you kill a lot of characters, and you have to do that because you have to show that there is a war, have to show that there's violence happening, and you're slaughtering like nameless you've made these characters well, not even characters, you've made these figures specifically so you can kill them, so their death is almost meaningless. You just using that.
Yeah, like red shirts, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. You're using that to show to move the plot, basically. So that just happens. So I had a kind of a scene in Pinky TA where she's storming a bunker and she's just killing people after people. But the idea was to show that it was actually affecting her emotionally, that, that wasn't an enjoyable experience for, dead person after dead person. It became like meaningless. Well, not meaningless, but their death became like affecting her. The pointlessness of their deaths started to affect her. She easily mowed them down and killed them. There was nothing they could do to stop her, and that started, to make her a bit affected. So I wanted to show that, she just doesn't kill without remorse or point. Because too often in comics and things like that, they just say, like in like the Avengers film, where they're all together and they're slaughtering all these aliens just one after another, just smash, destroy, cut through these swathes of aliens as if they're nothing, they're just like ants. And that sort of makes death meaningless. What's the point of, these characters' lives, or what are they? If they could just be mown down like that, then it seems to be that, you're...
We are created to die.
Exactly. Created to die. It makes their existence absolutely pointless, meaningless. So yeah, that's something I don't particularly like in comics, because in reality, people have lives and meanings and that kind of stuff, and in comics there should be some kind of acknowledgement of that, or in comic movies you shouldn't just create them as fodder, straw men to smash through. It makes the whole thing, it even makes the act of the hero meaningless, because if they could just slash and burn and cut through these people as if they're nothing, then why are they a hero then? What does their power mean? It's almost pointless. So
actually, that's a great point. Often, like when Superman smashes into a building, that thing has windows and there are rooms behind that, and usually there are people in the rooms, and that it's impossible that there was no casualty at all anywhere. So nothing is addressed. I think I haven't seen the movie though, so I don't really know that in Superman versus Batman they tried to show something like that, like a little bit of the aftermath of Superman fighting some other guy, and that gives motivation to Batman for some reason. That's the extent of my knowledge. So that is an interesting premise, and I wonder, I always wonder, don't they think like these people? Are they okay with this? Are they? I mean, that was a very interesting premise, and exactly it's about this characterless death in a sense. They always fight in cities as well. Like, dude, take him in the plains, in the deserts. Like, you can go anywhere on the earth, but go there. So yeah, okay, it was a bit disjointed, but I hope I made some kind of sense.
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking as well, Pitch, you do sort of think about this a bit deeper in Putrid Meat, because you've got characters actually called necropriests, and they specialize in aspects of death, of bringing characters back to life, or are they living or dead? What's happening there? You sort of transgress all sorts of aspects of death and different angles with your comics.
They just kind of, never really gotten into anything too deep with them story-wise, but they they just kind of screw around with Earth's energies, if you want to call it that. I don't know what else to call it, but they just kind of, they were kind of put on Earth to, I try not to get too meta with this, like on the Quackcast, but so they were put on the Earth by these overseers, which are the guys that created the multiverse and whatever. So they put them on the Earth to kind of control, make sure, mutations that are too wild don't happen, that kind of thing. They kind of try to keep things steady, genetic wise and stuff like that. But they have kind of broken free from the reins, or more like they gone under the radar is what I should say. And they have taken like this kind of power, this privilege they've been given, and they're using it to fuck with all sorts of things now. So that's basically what they are.
It's abuse of power in a sense, isn't it?
It's what?
It could be construed that it is abuse of the power that they were given.
Yeah.
Very much. And
it is. It is. It's the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do.
We've even got a death, goddess kind of. Who was it? Was it Isis or?
Isis, yeah. Which is funny because I look back at that, and this is a character that Tanj and I made together in our writing, and I look back at that scene now, and I mean, she had no correlation with the organization ISIS that we talk about now in American media and stuff. But I look back now at like the civilization I put her in and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, people are going to read this and think I'm trying to say something, Not to mention that this Middle Eastern looking civilization is, this outside force made up of people who look pretty American come in and remove ISIS, but end up causing all this shit in the process. So like, I'm like, oh man, like I wasn't even trying to do it. I did it. But yeah,
but I can attest to that because it was way before ISIS was a thing.
It was.
Yeah.
You guys.
We were trying.
Maybe all the things that I write about in Putrid Meat happen. Like if I like Putrid Meat is our future now.
Yeah, you're a modern day Oracle.
Bring it on. That'd be cool. I want to live in a city of thrash. I don't know. She's just like kind of another magical, powerful being thing that just, I don't know. She's just a skeleton. I don't know if there's too much I could say death-wise about her. So she's just she's a spoopy, scary skeleton is what she is.
I just realized, true to your future telling, Exus has become in power of Septica, which is the United States.
To that right now, man, seriously. But I mean, and it's not just the United States. It's just that kind of shit has happened all throughout history. So I hope that part isn't true to life. I really hope that part isn't. But and I mean, at least Exus is a little bit more suave. He's kind of nice to look at. So
yeah. Sort of. Teeth that all at once.
He is a big boy and has a good set. I mean, his hair is pretty.
Yes, he's got very pretty hair.
Very pretty slicked back hair. Oh,
he's a bit more well-mannered, too.
Anybody's more well-mannered.
House-trained.
Even Bones. Well, yeah, death. Well, what other aspects? We should really relate it to like popular comics that people know, I suppose. So we've brought up Superman.
Oh, this is where I fail. Well, this is where I fail, man.
Well, what about Judge Dredd? There's a character in Judge Dredd called Judge Death who comes from an alternate dimension where they've killed everybody. Well, he judges people like all life to be a crime against whatever. and they kill everyone. That's the Judge Death.
Yeah. They say all life or all crime is committed by the living, therefore life is a crime. So they kill everybody.
It's a nice draconian
It's
absolutist philosophy. It's has some sort of sense to it, although it's very weird and twisted. But yeah,
it's awesome.
So in that particular comic, death is what happens to all the characters because of, Judge Death and his mates, who are rather bizarre. There's not just one of them, is there? There's Judge Death, there's this one who's like...
Yeah, there's four of them. There's Mortis, there's Death, there's Fire, and there's Fear, I believe. Oh. He's got the cage on his head, and then there's the famous picture where I love this so much. So his thing is like he has that weird cage mask on his face, and then he kills you by he opens up the cage, and you see all these horrors, and your fear overtakes you, and you're killed by fear, And of course, it never shows what a character sees in the mask. It's always like from behind, and he opens a thing, and you see the guy, oh my god, and he falls down and dies, or Grud, and so there's this, there's this great scene where, of course, one of the most iconic scenes in Dredd, and he comes up to Judge Dredd, and he opens up his mask, and he goes. Instead of saying his famous line, gaze into the face of fear, Dredd puts his fist through his face. He goes, gaze into the fist of Dredd. That's the best, man.
Of course, Dredd has no fear. None.
No, he's got no fear.
Yeah, that is an awesome
No
picture.
Fear, no secrets, all that stuff. Yeah, he's like the quintessential, I love Dredd so much. The idealistic, iconic, like nobody can be Dredd, man, except for Dredd.
That's it. That is an awesome picture. His fist is blasted through the other side of the mask. Taste the Dredd.
Actually, I always thought that, because dread is, of course, the sound of the word dread. You can dread something which is actually you fear it. So, fear has tried to intimidate another version of fear. Like,
it is.
Dread. It didn't work.
Yeah.
You can't intimidate Dredd.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. So,
yeah, but Death in 2000 AD, Judge Dredd in particular. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. I mean, I can go into it, like the whole Necropolis arc and stuff like that, but it's just been so long since I've read that one. I feel like I'll screw it up. So, yes, there is death in that comic. What about you guys? What do you have to contribute?
Well, I was disappointed after the brilliant Stallone Judge Dredd film, where they're bringing all the Judge Rico, I think it was, which was Judge Dredd's evil brother or something, and he was trying
was his clone or twin.
Judge Rico was trying to bring all these mutant cloned versions of himself to life, and they weren't happening because Judge Dredd messed it up, and they were turning into these horrible skeletons. And I thought, oh my god, they're going to do a sequel with the Death Judges, and it's going to be awesome. Because obviously that's what these characters look like. But they never did. I thought, wow, that would be
They
so
always
cool.
They always did that sequel, and it never happened. So
yeah. Such a shame. It would have been awesome. Well, me for Death in other comics, let's see, what can I think of? Well, in Asterix, which I love, they never show death. They never show it. Asterix and Obelix, they beat up all the Romans, all the ghouls. They beat up, they smash the Romans to pieces, but they're never dead. They just got black eyes or something, or dented armor, or whatever. But no one ever dies.
Nobody actually has any physics to obey. So,
well, their heads get smashed in, and they get knocked they get punched in the head and they fly in the air and collapse in a heap, but no one ever actually dies. Yeah, so
you don't see much in terms of blood or anything. I think it's more cartoony, and I think they do it for a reason, because Asterix mostly is a satire of current things and current society more than the Romans, I think. So.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's true. They use modern events, or they use ancient archetypes and characters, and of course these comic characters to, as you say, satire modern things and satire moments from history as well. They mix it up.
And it's really I really like it. You don't actually expect anyone to die there.
Yeah,
that's another thing. I think that if they had the character death, that would be a break of trust with the audience, because you don't pick up an Asterix book to witness, the drama of dying and things like that. You want a satire, light-hearted, clever, and you want some slapstick, and you want those little Easter eggs hidden in the corners of the panels, especially the little stories with the chickens and the owls that always migrate or, never get to be in peace. That sort of thing. You don't want a serious tone like in graphic novels, like Mouse, for example, or something like that.
Now, Mouse handles death extremely seriously. I mean, that's the main theme, isn't it? That's the allegory of the Nazi death camp, concentration camps, and all that kind of thing. So that's a comic that really does have death in it. Moles. So that's a very serious one. Where the Wind Blows, another comic that handles death very seriously. We've talked about that comic a million times as well. For the two characters, death is inevitable, and that's the end of the story. Basically, the whole story is their march towards an inevitable, very death is going to happen very quickly with those.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Pit is holding up her Maui, which is death incarnate. For Mouse, for all the Mouses in the world. What about death in webcomics in general? Have you guys noticed? I mean, surely if you guys have read a few webcomics in your time, have you noticed the different ways death is handled in them, or anything really notable about that?
Well, from those that I have read, when there is death, usually it's final and it's treated, straight up. Like if there is someone that dies, they stay dead. Or when, I don't think I have actually read the story in webcomics where the dead person comes back without at least having it been set up in a way that that there are chances that this person isn't actually dead. Like it's part of the plot to have people think that someone is dead, but not actually to fool the audience fully.
Yeah.
Fully, whatever, to have the audience believe that they are dead. That that it's not actually absolutely certain, 100%. And then you have a character come back. But I don't think I have seen in webcomics people doing what Marvel Comics does. Have
comics rubbish.
Yeah.
Portraying the readers.
Like where nobody stays dead except or DC as well, except Peter Parker's uncle and
Batman's parents.
Parents of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay, those are dead. And maybe a couple of girlfriends to add the drama, but that's it. Everybody else comes back.
Yeah.
So,
It's basically the zombie land of it's this zombie land of the comic world, isn't it? Although they did parody that idea, I think they had a zombie issue or some sort of zombie thing of the superheroes where they all turn into zombies. The X-Men and all that. Yeah, they all. I think it was at the height of the zombie craze. They had to do a Marvel, or I think it was Marvel comic with
Marvel zombies.
Yeah, all these things. So there was obviously a lot of death there. And zombies are an interesting thing because they're undeath, of course. Depends on how much life you give them, whether they are really, how dead they are. Do they have much personality, or are they just animated skeletons? If they're animated skeletons, then they're completely dead, but, they might have some of their personality in them and turned evil. I don't know, like Skeletor. Is Skeletor a zombie? I'm not sure. He's got a skull face. I mean, come on.
He's Skeletor.
He's Skeletor. I'll get you, He-Man. Oh, I love that character. Let's see, Chubby the Vampire is a comic that has a lot of dead sort of characters in there, although they might be undead, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, can we still consider, since I can't even talk right now, this is ridiculous today. I want to go to bed. Can we still consider them dead characters, though? I mean, they're treated like living characters, so I think that they're more living than they are dead. They're just kind of really dead in name, aren't they?
And they are still contributing to the story. I mean, if they are still actors, like active actors in the story, they aren't actually dead.
I think she does sort of more permakill permakill. Does sort of kill characters more permanently in that they come back as visions or not ghosts, but sort of shades or something like that. They are dead, but they come back as like images in another character's mind, as if you're having a dream about a dead person, basically. So
that counts as dead.
Hey, what's that?
I think that counts as dead.
Yes, that counts as dead. I like it. We'll put that on the tally mark. Dead. I think we've done that with this subject pretty much. We've killed it.
So a little disclaimer for us, I think I should say, maybe we should have said this at the beginning of the show. We kind of had to ramshackle this together today because what we were originally going to do fell through. So this is all, like, none of us have really had time to prepare for this today. So if it's a lot of off the track, What?
It was sudden death.
Sudden death.
Yes.
We improvised pretty well. We strung it together like an old skeleton and gave it a semblance of life. So it's anatomically correct, at least.
I think that's debatable.
Oh, well, almost. Some things, they don't show up on skeletons. Like Pitt's penis. Oh, God, I shouldn't go there. All right, well, thank you guys for coming on to this, the Death Cast, as it has become. It was meant to be the Pizza Cast, I'm telling you now, everyone, but no one had pizza except for me. And it was cold pizza. It was cold. It was dead.
It was dead.
Exactly. All right, well, thank you very much, guys. Pitt and Tance, you've been both fantastic.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right.